There's a bunch that keeps you from being a Republican.
Yeah.
But that's one of the, like, people will say, like, oh, you know, you're a secret conservative. I'm like, you could suck my you don't know what the you're talking about.
What? What did he say? You can suck my what? Well, during a rant against Republicans' efforts to end gay marriage, that's right, Joe Rogan supports gay marriage and he supports abortion rights. He slammed his critics for calling him a secret conservative, but in the same breath, Rogan seemed to debunk himself. Watch.
I'm so far away from being a Republican.
Yeah.
Just because I believe in the Second Amendment and just because I support the military and just because I support police. Like, I was on welfare as a kid. I think it's important. I think having a social safety net is
great.
Crucial.
Yes.
It's crucial. We should help each other. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be one big community. I'm a bleeding heart liberal when it comes to a lot of.
There it is.
I just also believe in discipline and hard work.
Yes.
That's where I fall into the more conservative side.
And
but
that's
I'm
okay.
Not, but I'm not a person who wants to like keep all my money and not pay taxes.
That's something of a fiscal conservative, but definitely a social liberal. While Rogan may contest the fact that he is a right-winger, a majority of his viewers, guess where they stand? They actually identify as Republicans. A recent Morning Consult poll found more than 7 in 10 avid Rogan fans are men, and a similar share are under the age of 45. About half of avid Rogan fans identify as Republican, and even more describe themselves as conservative. So what is it that makes the Joe Rogan universe flock to his podcast? Well, even before the headline-grabbing Spotify controversy that has made him perhaps an unwitting figurehead for extremist rhetoric, hundreds of health experts complained that he was frequently spreading COVID-19 misinformation through his massively popular podcast. Then a jaw-dropping compilation video of Rogan saying the N-word 24 times in the 12 years of his podcast then surfaced. And here are a few more examples in terms of the criticism deserved of Joe Rogan. Anti-feminist, he tweeted, if you're a man and you call yourself a feminist, I hope you choke to death on vegan pizza while crying over a Lady Gaga song. Misogynistic. In the know, Joe Rogan faces backlash for laughing about his friend coercing women to perform oral sex. Homophobic. Joe Rogan says gay and transgender people are most vicious champions of cancel culture because they've been bullied and want revenge. Transphobic. Caitlyn Jenner slams Joe Rogan for transphobic rant that bashed the Kardashians. And anti-vax, a menace to public health. Doctors demand Spotify put an end to COVID lies on Joe Rogan Experience. And by the way, unlike many platforms, Spotify does not have a clear policy prohibiting misinformation. 370 physicians and scientists are hoping to change that. So this idea, Adrian Lawrence, that Joe Rogan can somehow be, it's fine for him to be a social liberal, progressive liberal, but he's conservative when it comes to financial stuff. Does it really matter if he's got as little class and as little sense of, morality as he seems to demonstrate?
You know, so many people want to play this labels game. They want to play like their teams when no, it's not how it works. You know, Joe Manchin talks every day about what being a Democrat my ass. Like, I don't care what you label yourself as. How do you conduct business? What are you doing? And all I've seen from Joe Rogan is nothing but absolute nonsense and shenanigans, especially things that align with white male supremacy, ableism, and hate. And if you are feeding people who also subscribe to that kind of mentality, again, you can call yourself whatever you want, but I see you for what you are, and I am going to say, go ahead and do you, but do you at a distance from me.
I mean, this whole idea of rhetoric, us versus them. This is a way for Joe Rogan, and it's also a way a lot of conservative media, Fox News, OAN, the rest. They say, look, we are out against the world, and be part of us, be part of our team, and we're going to fight. We're going to stand up for what's right, and we're going to demean, by the way, people who are other, people who are are not white, maybe aren't male, maybe aren't necessarily originally from this country. And what they do is by creating this division, it essentially acts as sort of an adhesive for people who are feeling somewhat lost, maybe people who have lost their jobs or people who are looking for somebody to blame, somebody to scapegoat for their own problems. And so Fox News is able to get an audience. It seems like on many issues, that's the way Joe Rogan gets an audience. And I guess what's so troubling to me, fine, if you want to be a fiscal conservative, if you want to be a progressive liberal, that's fine. We all have our complexities when it comes to the issues. And nobody, I think, is doctrinaire when it comes to progressive on everything or conservative on everything. I think people are far more nuanced. But where I have a problem is that when Joe Rogan uses such misogynistic, hateful language, regardless of what his positions are, then he's somebody who just doesn't care about fellow humanity. And if you don't care about fellow human beings, if you don't care that every person has some value regardless of their background, then it doesn't really matter whether if you're a progressive on abortion rights and or gay marriage, you are a hater. And in my view, there's no room for haters when it comes to progressives and standing up for our fellow citizens. But in any case, I guess Adrian, it doesn't hurt his podcast, right?
No, of course not. Because if anything, Joe Rogan definitely knows how to go to the highest bidder.
Well, is there anything that can be done? I mean, Spotify, and again, a lot of people keep talking about. There's got to be some way to get Spotify to have some sort of standards. Is there any legal requirement on Spotify? Is there anything somebody can do in terms of suing them or trying to go after whatever licensing they may have to say, look, you cannot be spreading misinformation?
You know what, I would like to have something like that in the rule books, and it'd be great, but to be able to balance it out with the First Amendment right is really difficult, especially also because they're private parties. And so, they can share what they want to share, really do what they want to do internally. If you find yourself on the receiving end of something that is discriminatory, that violates the Civil Rights Act, that's why they can get a lawsuit, but also the kind of remedies there are extremely limited. This is one of those situations where it's really just the power of the people and the power of the purse. If people wanted to boycott, they could. We did see that during the pandemic, but it wasn't significant enough to get, Spotify to do what's right. We do know that we did see Joe Rogan make some changes, I believe, and they removed some of his content. But it's just, we need our society to do more and do better, without a doubt.
Amen. And we could do a lot better by having, more, valuable, more ethically sound podcasters and radio hosts than Joe Rogan, who seems to traffic in a lot of hate and a lot of labeling of a lot of people, even as he gets angry when people attach a label to himself.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.